The lead news in the TV channels last night and the newspapers in the morning today is about the Supreme Court affirming the economically weaker sections quota given into effect by the 103rd Amendment to the Constitution. This amendment was passed by Parliament in January 2019, a few months before the country went into the general elections. This move by the government had come in the face of strong demand of the upper castes to get the benefit of reservation, just as the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward castes that have been enjoying it over the years. But the question came up, is reservation purely on the basis of economic criteria valid? Those who asked this question referred to the constitutional debate about the prime aim of the reservation. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who had summed up the consensus of the Constituent Assembly in the following words: there shall be reservations in favor of certain communities which have not so far had a proper look into so as to say the administration. Let's paraphrase it. He said the constitutional mandate in favor of reservation was to provide the historically deprived sections access to the excellence of power as a means of their uplift. That's a point which was underlined by the Supreme Court of India in the Indra Sahani versus Government of India case in 1992. It said, reservation as envisaged in our Constitution does not aim at economic upliftment or alleviation of poverty. Rather, it is designed to give due share in the state power to those who have remained out of it, mainly on account of their social and therefore educational and economic backwardness. The prime focus: social, therefore educational and economic backwardness. And the Supreme Court bench in the Indra Sahni case put it more explicitly: reservation is a measure to remedy the continuing evil effects of prior inequities stemming from discriminatory practices against various classes of people which have resulted in their social, educational and economic backwardness. The emphasis, the focus was on historically deprived sections, not the deprived sections of today because of economic ground. But then this manifest objective of the Constitution as affirmed by the apex court in the Indra Sahani case was turned on its head by the 103rd Constitutional Amendment passed by Parliament in 2019. Astoundingly, this has been endorsed by the majority judgment of the Supreme Court yesterday. Well, it can be argued that the Constitution is not the final word. An elected government, elected parliament can very well change the very basis of the reservation if it thinks the time has come for such a policy. That's a separate debate as to what would be the intended or unintended consequences of giving effect to such a policy. Let us for now accept the premise that the time has come for implementing reservation on the basis of purely economic criteria, as envisaged by the 103rd Amendment. But there are two unsettling questions. One was referred to explicitly by the minority view in the Supreme Court judgment yesterday. The Chief Justice U. Lalit and Justice Ravindra Bhatt found fault with the exclusion criterion, that the economically weaker sections quota will only be confined to the upper castes, that scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and OBCs will be excluded from it. This is a discriminatory practice and it is against the provision of equality of opportunity as enshrined in the Constitution, they said. This is all the more galling when the report of the government agencies themselves say that scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and the extreme backward castes constitute the overwhelming majority of the poor in this country. Isn't it a mockery of reservation policy that the poorest lot are excluded from availing the benefits of reservation meant for the economically weaker sections? Let us accept for the time being the three Supreme Court judges who delivered the majority judgment yesterday did not find anything amiss about it. They rather found it fit that only the upper castes must benefit from the new quota enunciated by the executive. Having accepted this, let's now look at another provision of this amendment that delineates who among the upper caste is poor. It says, one whose income is 8 lakh rupees a year, one who owns 5 acres of land, one who owns only one house in an urban area is deemed to be poor. You tell me, with this criteria, what percentage of the people of our country would be deemed poor? Maybe 90%. Shouldn't our government hang in its head in shame that it's giving reservation on economic grounds to 90% of people when every other day, every other government has been announcing from the housetop that it has reduced poverty in the country in great measure? The Congress governments did it for decades. The BJP government has been doing it for the last several years. Have all these claims over the years been fraudulent claims? The Supreme Court raised some sharp questions about this during the hearing, but astoundingly, it glossed over it in its final judgment. The government's decision was clearly political, rather electoral. It was based on electoral considerations. No wonder almost all political parties went along with this decision, maybe except DMK and few other small parties. It is indeed unfortunate that the Supreme Court of India, in a distinct lack of application of mind, went along with this brazenly ludicrous proposition of the political class.